Welcome to the source. The source. Source. Hey, get the source.
Yo, what's up? Happy. Are we connected? Oh, okay. Hold on. Wait till it still shows a black screen, but it says we're connected. So give it a second.
Oh, man, is Prop Beaver about to get fired?
Maybe. It's going to be the big
No,
day.
he did it right this time. It says excellent connection. That means he did it right. It looks like we're good now.
We're
good. What's up, everybody? Happy Wednesday. We got a lot of NBA action tonight. Obviously, it's the opening night for all these teams, so please bet responsibly. I did bet for these games. 3 or 4, I forget. We'll get through it. I started off the NBA season 0-1 because the Celtics decided to break the 3-point record on opening night, which was exciting.
Oh, they tied it.
Did they tie it?
Yeah, I don't think they broke it. I think they tied it.
Who gives a shit? Didn't watch the end of the stupid ass game. I will say, for all the people chirping about the Knicks, keep in mind these are the same people chirping to me about the Mets when we were 0-5. We went to the NLCS. One game on banner night. Clearly, there were magnets in the rim. A little worried about how we looked defensively. It wasn't so much they couldn't defend Boston's on a one-on-one level. Open shooters for days, just people out of position, which is not what you want to see. I'm sure Thibodeau is having an aneurysm right now because he hates that shit. But yeah, let's put it in the past. I'm 0-1 to start the season. We got a lot of games to get through. First one being Pacers-Pistons, and I don't see any reason to try and take a shot on Detroit here. Based on what we saw last year, Pacers had no problem with Detroit last year. They were 4-0 straight up, 4-0 against the number. The Pistons did make some moves to improve offensively, which was an area of need. This team could not find consistent scoring last year. So they added some guys. I mean, Tim Hardaway Jr. is there. Who else did they add?
Tobias Harris.
Yep. Malik Beasley. Yep.
Beasley.
Yep. So the Pistons brought in some pieces to address their lack of scoring. And honestly, I don't hate the moves. All three of those guys, I think, can give them some scoring. The problem is offense was not the Pistons' only problem last year. I think they were 28th offensively. They were 25th defensively. And I don't know if any of these moves address the defensive concerns here for the Pistons. Maybe they could limit Indiana from getting out in the fast break here and there because they weren't bad at that last year, but they could not protect the basket. And I just don't see how that changes. Tobias Harris at the 4, that all of a sudden solves your problem of not protecting the rim. This is a Pacers team that attacks the rim at a high rate. So I didn't bet this one. It would only be Pacers for me here. Pacers minus the points. Pacers team total over, somewhere in that range, but I didn't bet this one.
Sure, I'll go second. I also didn't bet this. If I were to play it, I'd play the Cade Cunningham under assists. If we're going off of last year's data, which I understand is never perfect, similar coaching staff, similar roster, but like maybe the midseason acquisition of Pascal Siakam, they didn't change everything wholesale. Regardless, Cade Cunningham under assists just because last year it was just like an all-you-can-eat buffet going to the rim against the Pacers, and anybody that could drive would go to the rim and they would score at will. I mean, you look at some of these stats. They gave up the most points per game second most points via isolation, the most points per game to pick and roll ball handlers, most attempts in the restricted area, most points in the paint. And not only did the teams run the most pick and rolls against them, they also had the worst points. They had allowed the most points per possession to the pick and roll ball handler as well. It's like just extra next level bad guarding the pick and roll. And if you're the ball handler scoring on the pick and roll, you're not assisting. That's unfortunately, you can't get a point and an assist in the same play. Even if you throw the ball to yourself off the backboard, you don't get a point. You don't get the point and the assist. And last year, they gave up literally the fewest assists to opposing point guards in the NBA. So if that holds true, I think the Cade Cunningham under 7.5 assists is a play. They do have the Pistons do have more shooting. So like you can't really go off of Cade's assist numbers from last year because like Monty Williams was coaching to get fired last year. Since game 1, he did not want to coach that team. He just took the bag and then wanted to get bought out. So that's why I'm not actually playing it because you never know. And that's why I'm just leaving it as a lean. But I like the play. Like I think it's a good angle if last year's data is any indication. I also think similar to that, like in a correlation, I also like Jaden Ivey if you want to like pump him up to get to 20 plus points, I think is solid. But I'm with you. I'm staying away. I don't feel like there are other bets that I like better. I don't feel the need to force it.
Chris?
Same. I agree with Modaw's last statement was how I think about the game in general. I do think that Detroit is going to – I mean, you can't say Detroit is going to be better. Like, you can't win but lose with so many more games. They lost 68 last year. So, like, just saying that they're going to be better with a given – with more talent is what it is. I think there will be spots to back Detroit this season. And I really want to do it early, but I can't do it. I need to see them. I can't go 0-3 with my first 3 bets and one of them being the Detroit Pistons. So I'll stay off of there. What I did play in this game, the official play here, is Benedict Mathurin. I think Mathurin has a really good start to the season. I think Mathurin will be a little bit like Miles McBride. So his points prop 11.5. You go back and look at the numbers last year. He did well, even this year in the preseason. He's averaged 13 in just 20 minutes. So I mean, instant offense off the bench. I think that number only continues to increase as we get, further along in the season. He got hurt to end the season, but if we remember back, the last 7 games, he had at least 13 points in each one of those. Vital part of the offense coming off the bench, of course, as well. And not for what it's worth, in his 3 games against the Pistons, he's had 15 points or more. So I do think that Benedict Mathurin points prop is listed a tad bit too low to start the season. And I think we only see this continue to go up. So I'll buy Benedict Mathurin because if this is a stock, I like it. I like it at 11.5. So I did play there. Also lean under. I know this goes against what you were saying, Cal, but when you look at the Pacers, who pretty much bought like majority of their same players back, when they were road favorites last season, not that it really matters, but when they were road favorites last season, they went 12-4 to the under. So for whatever reason, their offense, always plays better at Gainbridge Fieldhouse, not as much on the road. So lean under, but I didn't play it. I also really wanted to take Detroit. Not going to play that, but I am official on Benedict Mathurin over his 11.5 points here to start the season.
I remember Pacers road unders. I remember that from last year, yeah. So next up, Bucks Sixers. What would have been a really cool opening game. Probably would have got the main TV from me. Now becomes an afterthought. Matt, why don't you tell us your thoughts here as a Philadelphia fan? Are you upset?
Yeah, I mean, would I like to watch Paul George and Joel Embiid play basketball? I would. The Embiid thing, I just don't understand. Like, he played in the Olympics, like 5 months ago, and now there's he's out for ramping up. I don't know if they're hiding an injury. Like, it doesn't pass the sniff test. It makes no sense that Embiid's not playing unless he re-injured himself, but they're saying that he didn't. So, and I don't really understand, people being see, they're just being smart with him. It's the first game of the year. He hasn't played basketball in 4 months. Like, what do you mean? Like, be smart with him on back-to-backs. Be smart with him in 3 and 4 days, not opening night. So that, the Paul George thing, obviously, that's different. That's an actual injury that we saw happen. So I have no defense of the Sixers. I stopped defending them years ago. I will root for them, and then I'll hate my life for doing so. But no, I will not. I will not defend them. I did have a play on this one that I locked in before Embiid got ruled out. I still like it. The odds got nuked. It's Tyrese Maxey 4+ made 3-pointers. I got it at +120. As soon as Embiid got ruled out, it got again nuked down to +100 when I last checked, and I think it's still there. Actually, you can get +104 now at Caesars, so I would take it there. It's just a matchup play against the Bucks. I got burned for matchup play with the Celtics yesterday, but I mean, it is what it is. Last year, and it's the same coaching staff. Doc Rivers plays that super deep drop coverage. They let guards waltz into pull-up 3-point attempts. It's also mid-range shots as well, but Maxey's not a mid-range guy, which is why I like the 3-pointers over the points for Maxey. But last year, the Bucks allowed the second most pull-up 3-point attempts in the NBA, 6th most points per game to pick-and-roll ball handlers, and Maxey turned himself into a really, really good pull-up shooter. Last year, took the 9th most above the break 3-pointers, 10th most pull-up 3-pointers. Obviously, both of those led the Sixers by a wide margin. And like I said, the Bucks also allowed the most mid-range shot attempts, but that's not Maxey's game. He's either going to the rim or he's pulling up. And I think against the Bucks in this matchup, he's going to pull up. So that's where I went, the 4+ made 3-pointers.
Yeah, I mean, if you remember last year, Milwaukee really struggled defensively on the perimeter. It was just an all-you-could-eat 3-point buffet against the Bucks. Now, they did make some additions to kind of address that. DeLon Wright, maybe Taurean Prince a little bit. So I don't know if we'll see the same thing this year in that department. But, I mean, Chris, do you have anything for this one?
No, I think the line just moves so much. I'm an idiot because I should have just probably got the 4.5. This line was 4.5 for Milwaukee. They were getting 4.5 points last week when PG, what did he do? Hyperextended his knee or something like that? Yeah. And, now it's flipped 7 points. So I feel like an idiot, for even taking Milwaukee minus the 3.5. Also, Embiid, not Embiid, but on the opposite side, like, not that I think Philly, is going to win this game, but they got some depth. Like, they got a lot of depth. You add Caleb Williams, not Caleb Williams. You add Caleb Barton. Drummond comes over, probably the best backup center in the league. The Bucks also, like, Giannis, like, went through shoot around, but has he played in the preseason? Like, I don't know if I just want to lay 4.5 with the Bucks either. So yeah, it's a stay away game for me. I need to see these teams in action, Kyle.
Yeah, I would lean towards the Philly side, to be honest. This Philly team without Embiid wasn't that terrible last year. And you know where I'd probably go if you were I don't have a bet on the game, but if you put a gun to my head and force me to place a bet, probably go Sixers team total over, judging by the math. You probably get 108.5. The team tends to run a lot faster without Embiid. The offense moves faster. We see a lot more pace. And look, we're all talking about Paul George and Embiid and all that, right? Did we all forget that Milwaukee really didn't look that strong last year at all? That was not a good year. But look, I know they have a lot of talent, and with Giannis on the team, they're always going to be a threat in the Eastern Conference, but they're by no means a team I'm looking to lay with on the road. So I would lean towards the Philly side, maybe a Sixers team total over or a full game over if you like the Bucks. Just from the simple fact that I expect the pace of the game to be moving pretty quickly, but nothing for me here. Let's move on to the next one. Cavs Raptors is next. And I have a bet on this game. I took the Raptors team total under. I got it at 109.5. Now, the way this game goes could hurt me here because Toronto last season, they were the fast break kings, man. They just sprinted up and down the court at 1,000 miles an hour. But that's not here. It depends on what Kenny Atkinson is trying to do here with Cleveland. If you go by Kenny Atkinson's history as a head coach, yeah, you would probably expect to see Cleveland run a little more fast-paced based on what we know about Kenny Atkinson. But that's not really the way this Cleveland team is built. Now, they do have Garland and Mitchell, certainly guys that could get out in transition. They could definitely shoot the three-point shot. But Cleveland's number one strength for the last 2 years has been protecting the basket. And look, Kenny Atkinson knows a lot more about basketball than I do, but I would imagine if you take over a new team and you have Mobley and Jared Allen, you're not going to want to transition into any sort of type of play that's going to take away from your strength, which is nobody can get inside and score on the interior against Cleveland. Toronto didn't have much outside shooting last year. They relied on the fast break and scoring at the rim. That's what Toronto did. So, yeah, maybe they get some fast break buckets in this game, and maybe the pace of play screws me a little bit here. But every single time this game goes to the half court, the Raps field goal percentage should be rock bottom in this one. I don't know where the points are coming from Toronto if Cleveland can force Toronto's offense into those half court situations. When Mobley and Jared Allen are on the court, Cleveland is not an easy team to score points on. You could shoot the outside shot on them. Who's doing that for Toronto? So I would lean towards Cleveland minus the points as well. Maybe doing a little bit of gambling here with my bet because we really don't know what type of basketball game we're going to see here with the new head coach in Cleveland. Maybe these teams come out and they're just sprinting up and down the court at 1,000 miles an hour, and it doesn't matter if Cleveland's playing great defense. If Toronto gets 120 possessions, they'll probably go over this just by default. So maybe I get screwed in that respect, but I like the way Cleveland's defense matches up against the Raps offense on paper based on the production we saw last year. So I like Cleveland to hold Toronto offensively down. I took their team total under 109.5. Chris?
I like that look. I actually like that look a lot. I am worried, like you said, about the pace, though. Kenny Atkinson come in there and said they want to shoot a bunch of threes. They want to, get out, run. But to your point, Kyle, like RJ Barrett is out. Kelly Olynyk is out. Bruce Brown hasn't played a game in the preseason yet. Jacoby Walter is out, and this is not a deep team. I mean, they're already starting Grady Dick. Like he's projected to be in the starting lineup. Like, so I'm right there with you, guys. I think it's difficult for me to want to lay a big number, a boatload of points on the road, but Cleveland -6, and this was at 4.5, I think, like a week ago. And then RJ Barrett gets rolled out, and you start to see the money come in on Cleveland. Pretty sure they're gonna be a super public side here, but I'm not high on this Toronto team this year, especially if they're going to be missing one of those three centerpieces, right? Like RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and Scotty Barnes. So it just kind of feels like they have Scotty Barnes and Jakob Poeltl. Like, yeah, that's not enough for me. So I'd only lay the points here, Kyle. I did not bet this one, though.
this is another one. It feels like the first 3 games, as far as where you would perceive the public action to be, going to be heavily, everyone's betting Cleveland, everyone's betting Milwaukee, everyone's betting Indiana. So definitely some opportunities for the public to get cleaned out here. Not that should influence your bet. I'm just saying it's interesting. Look at our poll. Every single one has been over 70% on one side. They're very one-sided in terms of public action so far. Modi, what are your thoughts on this one?
First of all, I won't accept any Grady Dick slander. I think this is going to be Dick's season. I think he's going to have a great year. 15 plus points for Grady Dick.
Oh, you really bet him?
No, I was debating it. That's what I actually initially sent, and then I changed my mind. That's where I went. Evan Mobley to make 1 3-pointer. I think getting it for plus money, I think is solid. It actually went up. I got it at plus 135. I put a half unit on it. It's now plus 140, so you can get even better odds, and that's at DraftKings. This is just a play on like the pace and space offense that I'm expecting from Kenny Atkinson. He's talked about like wanting to move the ball, wanting to spread the floor. Obviously, it could be either of the guards. It could be Garland. It could be Donovan Mitchell. He just needs to make one. And the preseason, he shot over 3 attempts per 36 minutes, which 3 attempts is not a lot, but you just need to make one. I'm cool with going 1 of 3 from deep. So I don't really like. I could see. I know some people did this with Bam, and we'll get into that. Where like you take 2+ for better odds. I don't really see the value in 2 for Mobley. It's just 1 or done. But I do think that getting in for plus 135 is solid. So that's where I went.
Yeah. That the pace. Kenny Atkinson coming out and saying we want to run and want to shoot threes. Although part of me is like, who cares? The coaches say shit all the time. Well, we'll see.
Yeah. At the beginning of the year, it's like, maybe the players haven't tuned him out yet, so maybe they're going to listen to him. But yeah.
But I mean, like, fair. Who knows if there's any correlation between what he said in a press conference and what he actually plans on doing? Like, he's not required to tell the truth in those things. He's just saying whatever makes a headline. Probably whatever Cleveland's telling him to say to sell tickets. Like, yo, they want to see points, so say we're going to score a bunch of points. All right, let's move on to the next one. Orlando, Miami. What a tough one here. So you have to say coming into the season that Orlando looks like the stronger team. They addressed exactly what they needed to address. They brought in a shooter in Caldwell Pope, and that was the glaring weakness with Orlando. They could attack the basket. They could get to the free throw line. They could play some defense. They could rebound. They couldn't shoot. And I mean, they couldn't shoot for shit. The lack of three-point shooting in that Cleveland series was nuts. I had Orlando in one of those games. And I think that I did the math, and it was like, if Orlando shot 17% from 3, I would have hit. But no, they shot like 9. It was like they had no shooting whatsoever. So now you bring in Caldwell Pope. You got Gary Harris coming off the bench. That gives them some sort of shooting. Does that solve their problems in terms of lack of shooting? Probably not, but it's something. Here's the thing. I don't really like to make a habit of betting Orlando against Miami. I know it's shifted a little bit as of late, but this is a division rivalry, and if you rewind back 10 years, it's pretty one-sided. This is Miami's little brother here going into South Beach. If you put a gun to my head and force me to place a bet, I would say just take the Heat because they tend to get the better of Orlando, even though, like I said, it's starting to shift a bit. Opening night, the more veteran team. A lot of hype on Orlando. I would probably go this way, but I didn't bet this one. This feels like the ultimate coin flip on the slate here.
And because it feels that way, Kyle, that's exactly why I bet Orlando. Like, if Orlando won this game by 1 or 2, they wouldn't like surprise you. If they won by like a possession, that wouldn't surprise you at all. So to me, this kind of feels like an NFL game, right? Like where you're getting 2.5, and the bookmakers understand that it shouldn't be at 3. So like it feels like that coin flippy type game. Orlando, just looking at this team, Kyle, you mentioned a lot of things that I was gonna mention, but just specifically like after the All-Star break, their defense really, really jumped out to me. Like this team gave up the fewest points per 100 possessions after the All-Star break last season. They forced the most turnovers. They allowed the fewest offensive rebounds. I remember now. They were the best ATS team last season of every team in the NBA. And if I can get them as a dog to start the season against, Big Brother that's been kicking their ass for a really long time, I think it's worth a shot here, man. I know Miami's, motivated. They're a little bit healthier. I think only Josh Richardson is out for this game. But if I can get Orlando as a dog, man, I think I got to play it here. So I'll take the +2.
Yeah, I can't even argue with you. I like Orlando a lot. I like the way the team's put together. Modi?
Yeah, I didn't have a play on the spread, but I would agree with Chris on this one. Like the Heat have been really good for 10 years. The Magic have been terrible for 10 years. So I'm not surprised to hear that the Heat have gotten the better of them, but the Magic are good now. And I'm curious how that stat was last year specifically, like just looking at last year. But anyway, so I took Casey. You already mentioned my player, KCP. I took him 3+ made 3-pointers, half unit. I got it at plus 250. Currently, you can get it at plus 235 at Bet365, but now I'd still take it there. You could take the just over 1.5 for minus 125 odds. Like that's not terrible juice, but I would much rather, in my opinion, just lower your unit size, take it one up, and then if it hits, then you're good for like you could then fund a couple plays like this. And it's just that like they signed him because they need the exact type of player that KCP is. The Magic took the 10th fewest corner threes in the NBA last year, the 9th fewest catch and shoot 3-point attempts last year. And as good as the Heat are, like in the NBA, when there's so many possessions, you kind of have to, like, it's a philosophy what you decide to give up. In the Heat, they don't give up anything in the paint, anything close to the basket, like literally the fewest points per game to centers and among the fewest points in the paint last year. And they also kind of, and this is more anecdotal, but they're like the Belichick, what people always say about the Patriots, they take away the number one option. Like that's what Spo likes to do. So because of that, they gave up the 4th most corner threes in the NBA last year in attempts and the 6th most catch and shoot 3-point attempts. And then just overall 2nd most points via spot up. KCP is not like a high volume guy, like a Klay Thompson, like even Grayson Allen was last year or anything like that. But nobody else on this Magic team is a high volume 3-point shooter. Like Franz Wagner and Paolo are both very good. Maybe they'll grow into it, but right now they're low volume. They're not only not high volume, they're low volume, and they need someone like KCP in their starting lineup to shoot. Like Jalen Suggs turned himself into a decent shooter last year, led the team.
Not in the playoffs, he wasn't.
True, not in the playoffs, he wasn't. But in the regular season, he led the team in 3-point catch and shoot 3-point attempts and scored the most points via spot up. The only guy on the Magic that took any volume was Gary Harris, and who's much better suited for a 6-man role. Like, they're kind of begging to get Gary Harris off the court last year. So I think like KCP, his role is to play defense and to catch and shoot. And I think for him to make 3 in his first game, he's going to have the ultimate green light. So I think for the high odds that we're getting, it's worth a sprinkle.
All right, let's move on to the next one. A game. Hold on one sec. A game I did bet. I got the Nets at +8. It's now down to 6.5. I mean, who are the Atlanta Hawks to be laying this type of number?
I was going to ask you the same thing, Gal.
I mean, I would imagine this is going to be one of the more public dogs on the board. Whatever. I'm not doubting that the Atlanta Hawks are 8 points better than the Nets. Probably maybe 6 points on a neutral court. Sounds about right, but did we not watch the Hawks play basketball this year? There was no team that underperformed at a higher level than the Atlanta Hawks. I mean, they had one of the worst records against the number at home last year, one of the worst records against the number as favorites last year. They were 0-4 against the spread against this Nets team last year. This team just continuously underperforms, and I know they got it together a little bit down the stretch. We were actually cashing some Hawks bets there in March, April, but this team got off to such a slow start, and they couldn't cover a damn thing. Meanwhile, this Nets team is kind of the opposite. We know that this is a bad basketball team, one of the lower tier Eastern Conference teams. They always seem to overperform. Not to mention, I mean, where do we think the Hawks have the advantage? Maybe with Trae Young on the perimeter, but I like Claxton down low a lot, and Clay Capella is certainly not the player he was years ago. The Hawks have no business laying this big number. I took Brooklyn at +8. Maybe the Hawks are going to start this year the exact opposite way that they started last year, but I'm willing to take a gamble on the Nets at +8. At +6.5, I'd still go Nets, by the way.
Go ahead, Moda.
Sorry. So the play I have, I didn't actually bet. It's more of a lean because, like, I think this Nets team might be the most tanktastic team we've seen in a long time. Like, they traded to get their pick back this year because I think the Rockets had it. And in one of the, I forget what trade, but one of the big trades this year, they got their first round pick back this year. So they're like, we're going to tank the crap out of this year. So I think, like, it doesn't matter for game one. So, like, that's why I'm not just calling my shot and taking the Hawks or anything like that. Anyways, I think Trae Young is set up for a big game in this one. If I were to play it, I would just take the pumped up number at 30+. You can get that at +210. Obviously, again, lower your unit size there. There's just a lot of reasons to believe in Trae Young. Obviously, no DeJounte Murray, so that just takes away someone that had a high usage rate on the Hawks last year. And last year, the Nets gave up the most points in isolation and the fewest points per game to the roll man via the pick and roll. Admittedly, like if you look at the numbers, teams just didn't run pick and rolls against the Nets. They literally had the fewest possessions of pick and roll against them per game last year. It's because they could just let players score via isolation at will. I mean, Trae Young is not a huge ISO guy, admittedly, but he did have the 8th most drives to the basket per game last year. So I think he's going to be driving a ton. And Capella just kind of sticks to the roll, or not Capella, sorry, Claxton just kind of sticks to the roll man and doesn't give up a lot that way, which just leaves the floater open for Trae Young. And the Nets allowed the 3rd most pull-up three-point attempts last year. The Trae Young took the 2nd most pull-up attempts last year. So if you wanted to do that and take the threes, I wouldn't hate that either. I just thought it was safer to go with points. Again, I didn't actually bet it, but that's where I would go in this one.
Chris?
Yeah, no, I'll be quick. I just kind of agree with you. I'm not laying 8 with 6, 7, none of that with Atlanta. You mentioned them being poor against the spread, Kyle. I think like not only were they the worst ATS team last season, I think they finished 29-54. I think was the number. Yeah, 29-54. They covered 34.9% of their games. I think that was like the worst over the last 5 years. So like you said, a couple additions, but also some subtractions as well. And I just can't lay this big of a number. And it's a more of a fade of Atlanta than a play on Brooklyn, because I do think Brooklyn is going to be trash. But I mean, Cam Thomas points prop sitting at 25.5. He could go for 40 against this Atlanta defense.
He's going to take 40 shot attempts.
He's absolutely going to take 40 shot attempts. So yeah, this something I kind of want to wait and see. These are two fadeable teams in my opinion. So not that I want to jump right on Brooklyn, but I'm definitely not laying with Atlanta. So I agree with you, Kyle, but just a lean for me.
Yeah, I like Claxton down low. I think he's a good player. So, all right, let's move on. What's next? Charlotte, Houston. So I am on the Rockets in this one. I laid the 7. I do think the Hornets are going to be improved this year. If you remember, there was a stretch last year, I want to say right after the All-Star break, where the Hornets were playing great defense against jump shooters. There was probably like a month stretch where they had a top 10 defense against a 3-point shot. They were also defending the mid-range shot well. So we know this Hornets team is capable of playing good defense, and I do think that it will be improved this year. But this opening night in Houston, this building is going to be rumbling, man. And this Houston Rockets team showed us in the second half of last year that they're more than capable of just blowing somebody out of the building and running someone right out of the gym. So, yeah, although I do think this Hornets team is not going to be the disaster it was last year. They were certainly so injured, and having a healthy having a healthy LaMelo Ball to start the season is certainly huge. But I really want to see Mark Williams out there, man, because there's just such a blaring weakness for Charlotte down low. They can't protect the rim. They cannot protect the rim, and whether having a healthy Mark Williams fixes that or not, we'll have to wait and see. But this is a Rockets team that attacks the basket at a high clip. So this is also a Rockets team that plays great defense in transition. So if the Rockets turn this into a run and gun game back and forth, they have the huge advantage because they can play elite defense in that type of game, and the Hornets not so much. The Rockets should be able to score pretty easily inside. They should also be able to get their shots off. I like the Rockets to have a big game here. And so, yeah, I laid the 7. I also think this is going to be a hostile environment. These Houston Rocket fans think they have the 2 seed in the West. I swear. They're like the hype surrounding the Rockets this year. I got it at -7, by the way.
I passed on this one. I just couldn't get there with anything. I don't know what to expect from the Rockets. I don't know what to expect from the Hornets, so I just stayed away.
Chris?
Similar, Moda. I am high on the Rockets. Like you said, Kyle, I do think that they are going to be very, very solid. And last year, like at home, they were solid. Like you said, this was a team that was totally night and day. When they were on the road, complete fade. When they were at home, 13-5-1 against the number, covering 72% of the time, winning by an average of 10 points. So it makes a ton of sense to want to lay in this spot. But I like you said, Kyle, like I'm also a little bit higher on Charlotte. Like I really want to bet their win total over for the season. I just feel like they might, pull a flag and try to go for flags. So I'm not going to bet that. But I just think I'm a little higher on Charlotte. Would love to have Mark Williams there. I know Josh Green is also listed as questionable in this one. So I kind of set this one out as well. I need a couple data points before I feel like I want to lay 7 with Houston or take the 7 with Charlotte here.
All right, next game. We got Bulls Pelicans up next in New Orleans. Wow, it's down to 5.5 now. When I said Bulls are pass on the video last night, it was 7. So definitely looks like indicative of some sharp action coming in on the Chicago side. I couldn't get anywhere with this one. I think this Bulls team is underrated. People see DeRozan's gone and they see their only addition was Josh Giddey, and they're like, oh, you can't replace DeRozan with Josh Giddey. This team's not very good. And then maybe not taking into consideration all the injured Chicago Bulls that are returning to the floor this year, like guys like Patrick Williams, Zach LaVine. The Bulls are deep as hell as far as guard play goes. I mean, this team's got Giddey, Kobe White, Lonzo Ball, Dosunmu. That's 4 guards that I trust with the ball in their hands. And at any point in the game, the Bulls are going to get solid play from the guard position. I don't know. I think this Bulls team's underrated, and I would only go Chicago here. But this New Orleans team might be really good this year. So I don't want to start the season off by throwing a dart trying to fade a New Orleans team that I think that has the potential to be strong as hell. So it'll be Bulls or pass for me.
Yeah, I also didn't play anything officially on this one. If I were to give out a lean, it would be Herb Jones, 2+ made 3-pointers. Last I checked, was best offered at +135. The Bulls last year, they gave up a ton of 3-pointers everywhere. Any way you wanted it, they gave up the 3-pointers. Corner 3, above the break, pull up, catch and shoot, anything. And they didn't give up anything in the paint, not because of talent, but because of how they decided to play. But last year, they could just stick Caruso on the opposing team's best guard, and he was really good at shutting them down. They don't have that option this year. So that's why I'm not making this an official play and why I'm leaving it as a lean. If last year's any indication, take your 3-point props against the Bulls. I was debating between McCollum or Herb Jones, but Trey Murphy being out kind of is what led me to Herb Jones. Like, he led the team in corner 3-point attempts last year. The Bulls allowed the the second most corner 3-point attempts and the 5th most above the break. Like I said, any way you wanted it. But Herb Jones is really important with his ability to play defense. So, like, he's not going to get played off the floor if he's not making shots. So at least he'll be out there. And again, he led the team in corner 3-point attempts against a Bulls team that gave up a ton. So I think it's a solid play. Again, it's just like at the beginning of the year, you just don't know what to trust from last year. And I decided to stay away.
Someone said no Zion in the chat. I'm still showing him as a game time decision. I know he wasn't present at shoot around, but that doesn't necessarily mean. Is that confirmed, no Zion?
I don't think that's confirmed. I think it's
so someone just being a psychopath in the comments.
Yeah,
he wasn't present at shoot around, so it's not crazy to say that Zion doesn't play. But as of right now, I believe he's still a game time decision. Chris,
I'm looking too. I don't see him being ruled out. I see him questionable, but also DeJounte Murray is questionable too. Like, who are we laying points with the Pelicans and 2 of their star players, especially with DeJounte being there. Listed as questionable. I think he got like a tummy ache or something. One of them got a tummy ache. But so there's no way I'm laying points here. But I kind of disagree with you a little bit, Kyle. I think Chicago's gonna suck this year. I think they're gonna stink it up. I think Lonzo trying to get reacclimated is gonna take some time, kind of like what we saw with the Stars last night. And I don't know what his ultimate role is gonna be on the team, but this was one that I couldn't get there. Same thing you guys are saying, so I'm not going to regurgitate everything, but I just couldn't get there with either one. Like, especially with the injury news, like, tell me Zion is playing and DeJounte is playing, and I may slightly feel different. Tell me they're not playing, and I may slightly feel different. But first day of the season, and I don't know the status of 2 starters. Yeah, I'm on the bench. I'll sit this one out kindly.
Not to mention, it's not just that. Jose Alvarado is also questionable. Trey Murphy's out.
Yeah.
But this is a New Orleans team that lost a lot of their depth. If let's say one of those 3 guys is out, let's say Zion's out, who's going to see significant minutes tonight? Javonte Green, Daniel Tice? I mean, this is not a deep basketball team.
They also don't got a center. I forgot about that. Yeah, I guess
Valanciunas is gone.
Yeah.
So if Zion's out, like, who's playing the minutes? The problem is, I Chicago at the same time is a question mark to me.
Let's hammer Chicago. I like him. I'm playing them now, Kyle. Thanks.
You're gonna bet it?
Yeah, I'm gonna bet it.
All right, screw it. I'll bet it with you. Peer pressure. Let's do it. Let me
go. Like squad riding together.
Let me go find a quick line chop.
Yeah, I was about to say I need the best line too.
Plus 5.5, minus 105 on ESPN bet.
Yeah.
All right. Let's move on to the next one.
Plus 6 on Caesars, Kyle. Come on, man.
Oh, that's right. They took Caesars off this fucking thing. That's why it didn't come up.
6.
Caesars. Boom. All right, what's next? Grizzlies. Oh, it looks like there was a render mistake here.
They play the Jazz.
The after effects you had wrong.
Okay.
Here we go. Hold on. I just want to bet the Bulls.
That's a me mistake, Andy, not a you mistake. Shut your mouth.
+6. All right, bet placed. I'm in.
No pressure.
I'm in.
All right, so next is sorry for the screen. Grizzlies, Jazz, and this might be a little early in the season to try to start taking sharp shots, but I think the Jazz win. I bet the Jazz. I got it at +3. I got the money line. Let's not forget that the Jazz were a really good home team last year, 24-17 against the number one of the best home teams in the NBA. But really, with no Jaren Jackson on the floor, do we trust Edey to just keep the Utah Jazz off the offensive glass? This is one of the best offensive rebounding teams in the league last year. They were second behind only the Knicks. Utah's second in offensive rebounding rate, and that's with all the injuries they had. Walker Kessler was banged up for a while. Markkanen missed some time. John Collins was banged up for a little. They're all in there. So even if you think, oh, Jaren Jackson being out, not really a big deal, they have Zach Edey. You're talking about 3 different guys that can grab offensive rebounds. I mean, did you watch Purdue last year? Edey's not the most fleet of foot. So I like Utah to clean up the offensive glass in this game. Look, the Jazz really struggled defensively in transition. It's going to be a problem. Ja Morant might go crazy in this one. So it's not that I think they're going to be able to hold Ja Morant down, but it's going to be hard for Memphis to make consistent stops if they keep giving up offensive rebounds. So I like the Jazz offensively in this one to give Memphis a hard time. And that's what I went with the Jazz money line, and I got a +3.
All right, so for this one, it's my favorite play of the night. It's Ja Morant. So I took him over 7.5 assists. Right now, the odds keep fluctuating. Right now, it's -128 at FanDuel. If you can still get that number, if it doesn't change by the time I finish talking, I would hammer that. I put a full unit on the over 7.5. It's the only play so far this year that I put 1 unit on. I also put a half unit on him to get to 10 plus at +210 odds at Bet365. So this is something where I'm comfortable going off of last year's data, because the Jazz, like, same coaching staff, same everything. The Jazz gave up the most assists to point guards last year. They gave up, and according to props.cash, they were the best matchup for point guard assist props as well. And that's like, it's not always hand in hand. Just because they gave up the most doesn't mean they're always good to bet point guard assists against, but they were. They gave up they gave up, sorry, I'm looking at my notes. There we go. They gave up the fourth most catch and shoot 3-point attempts and the 5th most points per game, specifically to pick and roll man. If the roll man's scoring, or if someone's scoring via catch and shoot, that's an assist. And last year, Ja Morant only played in 9 games, so like it's a tiny sample size to go off of. He got 8 assists in 6 of those 9 games. He hit 10 3 times, and he hit 9 another time. And then in the 3 games he went under, 2 of them he had 7. So like, if you're telling me his floor based on the 9 games he played last year is 7, I think that's pretty solid for just needing him to get to 8. And I do think that he's going to have a good pick and roll combination with Zach Edey. Like, I think he could pick up points rolling with Zach Edey as a roll man. So like, as a lean, like, I like the Zach Edey points as well. I didn't want to play both, and then, because if I'm just wrong on this, I don't want to get double screwed. But I do think that Zach Edey is a good play for points. You can get that 10.5, 11.5, depending on like your book and the odds and stuff. But yeah, the assist for Ja was my favorite play of the night.
Ja Morant assist ladder. I can get with that. I mean, it's not that I'm expecting Utah to make a lot of defensive stops here. So, Chris.
Yeah, I don't. This was my sentiments are very much with you, Kyle. I just don't want to take that shot. Like, this game to me kind of feels like the Miami Heat and Orlando Magic game, where I'm like, this is the coin flip game, because I know people are going to like Memphis in this spot, but when you're down Jared Jackson Jr., like you're talking about, I think also like Luke Kennard is out. Like, they're missing some guys from the rotation. And the Jazz home court is one of the best that we've seen. You mentioned them being 24-17 against the number last season. They were 15-11 against the number as a home dog as well. So this was a place that they covered. They don't have anybody on the injury report here. For whatever reason, things get really wonky in Utah. Typically, it's in the second half. So if you want the Jazz, if you want the Grizzlies, you may want to take them first half, because it's almost like players start seeing ghosts and they can't score the ball anymore. Utah all of a sudden plays defense in the second half. So with the number being 3, it kind of scared me off wanting to lay with the Grizzlies here. So I would lean Jazz with you. Okay, I did not bet this one though.
And that's another thing you brought up is one of the glaring weaknesses for Utah last year was they couldn't defend the perimeter. It was just whoever played the Jazz was lighting it up from three. With Ja Morant on the floor, this Grizzlies offense is different. It's not worse. It's better, but it's different. The Grizzlies took a lot of threes last year. If you look at who the three-point shooters were, sure, Desmond Bane is still there, but Vince Williams is out, Kennard is out, G.G. Jackson is out. So all the players on the Grizzlies that were shooting those threes last year, most of them aren't playing in this game. Ja Morant's going to have the ball in his hand a lot, and we know he likes to get to the rim. That plays into the strength of the Jazz defense to drive into all that size and length down there. I'm not saying Ja Morant isn't going to go off. Of course he is. He's crazy. But driving to the basket plays into the strength of Utah's defense. So, yeah, I'm on the Jazz here. Next. We have no After Effects for this one. Switch to it. Go to the bottom. All the way to hit properties. Click the right one. Oh, so yeah, there is no Live 9. That's fine. I guess we don't have After Effects for this one. Shit. What game were we talking about?
There's two left.
Yeah, we got two left. Golden State,
Sun-
Portland, and Phoenix and Clippers.
Suns, Clippers. Yeah.
Well, this is a pass for me. I'm not laying points with the Suns. If you guys follow along last year, the Suns were literally my kryptonite. I had a great NBA season. I lost a lot of money betting on and against the Suns. I don't do Suns. Not right now.
I don't have a play on this one either. I mean, it's like, are we getting 2018 James Harden? I don't think so. The Suns just playing my turn, your turn basketball. Maybe that's different with Bud. I'm staying away.
Yeah, I can't give you guys a strong opinion here either. What I will say though is I expect the Clippers to struggle offensively though. Like this was not a super great team last year. You lose PG. There's no Kawhi. I know you're into a dome and the $2 million that you spend, but like I think I even saw Norman Powell like in the starting rotation. So like, where's that production going to come for them to be able to score in this spot? I think we also just get like super inflated lines with Phoenix because they have a big three, and they typically went under a lot last season because they don't get to those numbers. So I say all that to say that I do lean under. I think it's going to be like for the Clippers to keep this game close. I don't think they're just going to go out there and light it up. Like I don't think it's going to be like, oh yeah, the Clippers hung 120 on Phoenix. I think they're going to have to slow the game down. It's going to be a lot of Harden and Zubac pick and roll in the half court. They won't push it a lot. They need Trey Mann to play well. So yeah, I guess I lean Phoenix, but like you said, Cal, I vividly remember doing shows with you all the way through the last game against the Minnesota Timberwolves, and we both were still like drinking that Phoenix Kool-Aid, and it tastes like way too much sugar. It had salt in it, oil. Like it was terrible. It tastes like a bar soap.
It was a disgusting beverage.
It was a disgusting beverage as well. Matter of fact, let's stop talking about it.
No more Suns. What's the next game here?
Golden State,
Warriors.
Portland.
Do we have After
Yeah.
Effects for that? All
No,
right.
we don't.
It's Warriors, Blazers.
Trailblazers.
Modi, do you have anything for this one?
I don't. I hate passing on the last two games, but like the Warriors have a sneaky decent depth this year with a ton of new guys. Buddy Hield. I don't know if D'Anthony Melton's playing. I know he had a back issue. And then they got Slow-Mo as well.
He's in, Moda. I think I saw Golden State had a clean injury report. Nobody was on it.
Okay, got it. Well, either way, yeah. I mean, the only thing, I think Anthony Simons is going to shoot 1 million times. His over/under is 19.5 or 20.5, depending on where you look. I'm like, for him, he's either scoring 25 or he's going under 20. So I would just take 25 plus at plus 200. But I didn't actually bet it.
Chris?
Nah, nothing official, but I think this is one of the popular favorites that probably could cash. I do think Golden State is going to be good this year. I think Portland is still going to suck this year. I really do think both of those things. I think Golden State has a lot of depth, a lot of versatility. And what does Portland struggle at? Scoring the basketball. They also struggle defending as well. And they're already down a couple players. Like there's no Time Lord, there's no Matisse Thybulle. I just feel like they're going to struggle to score. I think I lean under just because Portland was one of the worst offenses in the NBA last season. And I can see Golden State also like struggling to score at times, like trying to figure out. Didn't Steve Kerr come out and say like he didn't even know he was going to slot in Clay's spot? Like, just like the lack of depth and trying to have to figure out the rotations and who's going to play does make me think that Portland's going to play really slow and the game probably goes under. But I didn't play this one. I do lean Golden State minus the 6. I think they can win this game by double digits, even on the road.
So I figured out the graphics thing. AJ, prop beaver, go to game 10. Go to the bottom. Well, first switch it to 3 people. It's in NBA live graphics instead of NCAA. So if you go to relink it to NBA live 10.
Well, you guys got a super chat to fund your After Effects, so hopefully that helps.
No, never mind. It's the correct one on me. NBA graphics live background is Warriors clip. I'm looking at it. So you'll just link the wrong one.
So
go to browse P NBA graphics live backgrounds.
P NBA graphics.
Hey, there we go.
There it is.
All right. So anyway, Warriors, Portland. I agree that I like the move Golden State did. I think Kyle Anderson's a great pickup. I also think Buddy Hield, D'Anthony Melton, cool little pickups too. I think this Golden State team is better this year than it was last year. Just don't love this matchup for them. Portland, when they had their guys out there in the backcourt, they were really good defensively on the perimeter. In fact, I believe they finished the season first in defensive efficiency against the above the break 3 shot. That's what Golden State does. They got some feisty defenders out there to try to take that perimeter shot away from you. It's pretty much the only thing they did well defensively last year was they give you problems on the perimeter. They put a lot of pressure on outside shooters, and they can force turnovers. That's really not great for what Golden State, at least what we think they want to do offensively, what they've done for years past. So I don't like the matchup for Golden State offensively. The reason I can't take Portland is I don't know where the points are coming from here for the Blazers. This offense was terrible. So
under, Kyle, you said under.
That's what I said. Yeah, I said under. I said under a pass on the YouTube video last night.
Okay.
So it was at 222.5 last night to 221.5 now. It would be under a pass for me here. I haven't bet it yet. This one doesn't start till late. Maybe I'll throw a few dollars on it later. But yeah, under a pass for me. All right. So next up is Liberty, Kennesaw State. Let's talk some real ball. The worst college football night. All right, guys. Thanks for joining. Make sure you guys give these guys a follow on Twitter. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Catch you tomorrow, Kyle.
Yep.
Yeah. Thanks, guys.
All right, fellas.
So they're all the 11, 12, and 13 are in NBA graphics. That's why. So you could switch them all to NBA. All right, we're gonna get Andy and Scoop on. Liberty and Kennesaw. Just what we've been watching the whole time. Just realized Modai has Eagles gear on. Yeah, he's a Philly guy. All right. So these are some tough. I know the midweek college football games have been going well for me. Won my bet last night, went 1-0. Actually, I picked them both right, but I didn't bet the FIU one. I just went 1-0. But I had the under in UTEP, Louisiana Tech, which was pretty much sweat free. That was a very low scoring game. They both were. Last week I did very well in the midweek game. So these weird midweek college football games have been good to me. I know that these games are very volatile and it could turn on me at any second. But so far, I got to say, right now I'm bringing in some momentum with these midweek games. So this first one is Liberty, Kennesaw State. And let's be honest, there's just no reason I mean, there's nothing on paper that will indicate Kennesaw State can keep it within 4 touchdowns of Liberty. Last week against Middle Tennessee State, let's give Kennesaw State's defense some credit, but a lot of that was just Middle Tennessee being the most poorly coached team in the FBS. That it's terrible because the team has talent. Vadiato can throw the ball, but it was such an undisciplined performance by Middle Tennessee State. Kennesaw State's defense at times can look formidable, but offensively, this is the worst. It doesn't get worse than Kennesaw State in the FBS. Liberty's going to score, and Kennesaw State just can't keep up. And so, look, on paper, Kennesaw State should win this by 30+. I'm sorry, Liberty. Wow. Liberty should win this by 30+. So put Liberty up. But
that'd be some good odds.
That'd be crazy. It'd be Liberty minus the points or pass, but there's just no way that I actually place a wager on that. Liberty or pass for me.
Go ahead, Andy.
Thank you. I was just waiting for him to unmute.
He's muted.
Yeah. I would 100% agree with him. The only thing that gives me pause for Liberty is they've played one game since September 21st. That's a month now. They had the canceled game, then they had a bye week after their last game or whatever. It was a weird schedule to this point. But I don't think that really matters. Kennesaw State is not to the level of a Division One, or I guess not Division One, an FBS program yet. And Liberty is still waiting for that game where they beat the crap out of somebody. I mean, a lot of their games to this point, they've played a 21-24 game against Campbell. They give 24 points to Campbell. 6-point game with New Mexico State. 11-point game with ECU. 7-point game. They're not blowing teams out yet. If there was an opportunity for them to blow somebody out, I think it would be today. So I would lean Liberty or pass here because there's not a single number on earth that's going to point you toward Kennesaw State in any way, shape, or form. It would have to be, to keep this one close, they'd have to play perfectly. And we haven't proven that they can play even half decently, let alone perfectly. So, yeah, Liberty or pass.
Yeah, these games question why I am even alive doing this. There's no way I could take Kennesaw in any possible way. Liberty has not looked good, true, but you cannot possibly have me taking Kennesaw State. I actually like the team total over for Liberty. That's team total over 34.5. Now, they only hit this twice, once against Campbell with 41 and East Carolina a few weeks ago with 35, but New Mexico State, FIU, UTEP, they all scored at least 28 points against them three. Now you're playing a Kennesaw team who just gave up 63 at home to Jacksonville State. I think Liberty's going to have their breakout game here. I actually wanted to bet the team total under for Kennesaw, which is 9.5, but they scored 10 a few times. I think 3 times, actually. The only time they didn't was when they hit that 3-run home run and a pair of RBI doubles last week with 5. Liberty's in the driver's seat for sure to go to another Conference USA title. They just haven't looked dominant doing so. They're 1-4 against the spread, so I don't trust them completely here, laying 25.5. But I do believe this offense is going to torch Kennesaw. This is only their second game in the entire month for Liberty, so they're well rested. They're facing what's essentially an FCS team. Caden Salter's I think that he's gonna have a game like 2023 here. So yeah, even though Liberty should roll offensively, I know Kennesaw's terrible on the offensive side of the ball, but yeah, Liberty's giving up some big plays. I don't trust the spread, so team total.
Yeah, and you know what? What will help that Kennesaw should be 3-and-out punting it right back to Liberty every single time. They should have good field position. So Kennesaw State's lack of offense should help you with your team total over. All right, let's get into the next one. I don't have a bet on this one yet. Middle Tennessee versus Jacksonville State. This line's way too high, though. Middle Tennessee should have beat these guys last year. If you remember, so first of all, Vadiato threw for over 400 yards on Jacksonville State last year. This Jacksonville State defense is not as good as it was last year. It's definitely worse. The offense is slightly better, though, for Jacksonville State. But last year's Jacksonville State defense was a problem. This year, there's holes in it. In fact, all 3 times that Jacksonville State has seen an opposing quarterback, they've gotten thrown on. So I think Vadiato's going to have a big game throwing the ball on Jacksonville State, just like he did last year. Problem is, I don't know if Middle Tennessee can make a single stop. That defense is a mess. It's so bad. And Jacksonville State offensively is better than what they were last year. Last year, their defense was better. Their offense wasn't as good. This year, their offense is better. Their defense is taking a step back. They lost a lot of production for the defense. So I expect Vadiato to make throws and score points in this game, though. That's where I'm having trouble. So the way I'm looking, Middle Tennessee team total over. I think it's at 21.5 though. Last night when I gave it out, it was 20.5. So obviously that's 21's a pretty key number. So that sucks. But just put Middle Tennessee up for me because that's the side I want to be on. But my actual, if I was to place a bet, would be along the lines of Middle Tennessee scoring points, whether it's this bet, the team total over, or the over 63.5. That's where I want to be. Middle Tennessee to throw the ball on Jacksonville State.
Yeah, it's kind of rare when I don't think all three of us don't have a bet here on the site.
Really?
I can't do it. I mean, one thing you could say about Jacksonville State is Rich Rod is definitely still an asshole. He will run up the score on you and keep his starters in to prove a point. The past 2 games for Jacksonville State, they did score 117 points. Sure, they did it against Kennesaw State and New Mexico State, 2 really bad football teams. But you know, things comes in threes. They're facing another bottom feeder defense here, especially in terms of points. I think Middle Tennessee's defense is just broken. They're giving up 35.5 points a game. I think Jacksonville covers this number. I actually agree with Kyle that I think Middle Tennessee can move the ball, but their defense is just really bad. Jacksonville State, obviously the offense looks great right now, especially with Tyler Huff at quarterback. Even with Jacksonville State's okay defense, they still should pressure Vadiato. Vadiato's been sacked 21 times. He doesn't have a lot of time to throw the ball, so that doesn't help. And not only that, but Jacksonville's top 10 in turnovers this season. So just to add on to the Middle Tennessee's defense, they're 125th in EPA per play, allowing more than 4 points per drive this season. That's the highest in the nation. So Jacksonville State's going to play extremely fast like they always do. They're going to score a ton of points, and they can get they need this game before they play a big game at Liberty next week.
All right.
I'm going to be on Middle Tennessee. I'm going to side that side. I just wish they had any semblance of defense because I think they're a pretty misunderstood team, right? Vadiato's had a pretty disappointing year for a guy I think had high-ish expectations for his last year of college football. But if you look at their schedule, I mean, they didn't really give him a chance. Ole Miss, Western Kentucky, Duke, I mean, those are 3 pretty decent defenses. And, I mean, Western Kentucky's a way better offense than them anyway. And then they also played Memphis, too, so, like, that's not an easy one. So coming into conference play, they had played probably the hardest schedule imaginable to that point for a Conference USA team. And then now they had La Tech, who all of a sudden apparently has an unbelievable, unstoppable defense. And then Kennesaw State last week was a joke. They won 14-5. They've just kind of not gotten anything done, but I don't think they've gotten into a rhythm yet. I think that they'll get to that point today. If you look at some of Jacksonville State's defensive numbers, I don't buy them. Southern Miss, Kennesaw State, and New Mexico State all had under 6 yards per attempt and below 30% success rates passing the ball. I don't buy it because if you look at the numbers before that for Jacksonville State, in their first 3 games, they gave over 52% success rates against the pass against Coastal Carolina, Louisville, Eastern Michigan. So really, what team is Jacksonville State? I'm going to bank they're probably the one that was getting blown out by good teams instead of the ones that, you know, they played 3 terrible offenses in a row, so they've been successful. So I think Middle Tennessee, if they can get into that rhythm, they'll be closer to those teams than the other 3 teams Jacksonville State's played. So I think they'll move the ball, and when a team's moving the ball, it's tough to cover 3 touchdowns. So, I would lean Middle Tennessee here.
Yeah, I honestly think Middle Tennessee could potentially win the game. I didn't bet it or anything. I didn't even bet the plus 20.5. But they should have beat them last year. If you remember, that was the game where there was a punt. Jacksonville State punted the ball back to Middle Tennessee. It was a 7-point game. And the guy, that's where we were arguing over the rules. The guy grabbed the Middle Tennessee. It was like fire, like stay away. Well, some teams call it fire. I mean, stay away from the ball, stay away from the punt. And the guy grabbed the Middle Tennessee player and literally picked him up and walked him over and threw him onto the ball. And I was like, how is that fucking legal? I was going crazy. I was on Middle Tennessee plus the points. And that night, I'll never forget it. That was the most pissed off I was at college football all season. It was like a Wednesday night. I was livid about that play. But what I'm saying is last year, Vadiato threw for over 400 yards, and this was a close game back and forth. So the idea that they're over 3 touchdowns better, I mean, Middle Tennessee outgamed them. Middle Tennessee had like over 500 yards offense on them last year. So I truly think this game should be close. So, yeah, I'll be on the Middle Tennessee side. All right, let's do a community parlay. Hit the song.
Community parlay, the parlay we bet, yeah. Community parlay is for the community. We come unite, making a parlay. Yeah.
So the community top bet won again last night. They had the Celtics -5.5. The community remains hot. I'll do the community parlay. Is there an underdog tonight? No, right?
No.
Okay. So I'll do the community parlay here. 1 second. First, we have they like the Pacers money line. Yeah, the community's pretty decisively on a lot of these sides. They're on Hawks money line. A lot of people voted for Nets in that one though. They're on Cavs money line, and they're on Bucks money line. All right. So what is the first leg of the community parlay?
Kennesaw State money line, $100. Good luck.
What is it at?
It's like plus 1,300 or something.
Sweet.
That's going to be Pacers money line prop versus the first leg.
Plus 1,600, kind of stuff.
1,600 now?
Yeah.
That's nuts. All right, so the first leg is Pacers money line, and Bucks money line got second place. So if you voted for the Bucks, you'll get another chance. Heat money line, Rockets money line, Bulls Pelicans money line, Grizzlies money line. All right, what's the second leg? TWD says he's looking at Syracuse tomorrow. I took the team total over 27.5.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. I like Syracuse too.
I'm a little worried about Syracuse's defense though. So rather than try to worry about them making stops, I want Syracuse team total over.
The two biggest money line on Saturday are Florida State and Illinois.
Against ranked teams?
Well, just funny that Florida State, how big of a downfall.
Yeah,
that is a
Illinois.
collapse. Second pick for community parlay is Heat money line. Second place was Rockets, so Bucks and Rockets will get another chance. We got Warriors money line. We got Suns money line. Rockets money line. Bucks money line. All right, first and second place of this poll finishes out the community parlay. The first NBA community parlay of the season.
Illinois is getting a little disrespected with that line this week. They're 20.5-point underdogs against Oregon.
The first bet I placed.
You bet them? Yeah.
I bet 21.5.
Way too much.
Yeah.
Especially because Altmaier's a road warrior.
People are also forgetting Oregon has played close games. It's not like they're blowing out. The teams that they blew out were Michigan State and Purdue. Like, it's not they blew out good teams.
Yeah, but I read something that Lanning wasn't using half of his playbook until that Ohio State game. I wouldn't be surprised if they start routing teams now that they opened it up.
So now he's going to go back. He's going to go back to the regular game.
I would be on Illinois too because Altmaier, he's better on the road. He goes on the road in these harsh environments and performs. He was piecing up Nebraska and Lincoln. I'd be on Illinois, but I'm saying I wouldn't be surprised if the rest of the season Oregon looks completely different than they did the first 5 games. The community parlay, I'm gonna give it a couple more seconds because it's a close race for second place here between Suns and Bucks. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1, and poll, and the winner is Warriors and Suns. So someone in the comments want to shout out the odds on that?
Plus 462.
Wow, you're on it. Plus 462. So the community parlay, the community's been red hot recently. Pacers money line, Heat money line, Warriors money line, Suns money line, plus 462. Thanks everyone for watching. Be back at the same time tomorrow. Do some college football. We got better games tomorrow night. Actually,
I mean, can't be worse. So.
I bet both of tomorrow night's games. So I have bets on tomorrow night's games. I have a bet on a couple games for Friday night. So college football for the rest of the week is sweet. We just got to muscle through these horseshit games tonight. So everyone's